Hello. So I noticed that there's a pattern on the arc's post time skip, and the patterns kind of. And I noticed this by looking at similarities like Dressrosa to Arabasta, um, how Big Mom's Devil Fruit's similar to Moria's, and things like that. So I started piecing things together, and I came to a conclusion that there's a pattern to all this. And the pattern is basically for every 2 arcs in the post time skip, it equals to 4 arcs in the pre time skip. So basically, how it's structured is the first arc, like Return to Sabaody, or Punk Hazard, or or Reverly. It's inspired by 1 or 2 arcs, and then the second arc, Fishman, Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, and Wano, is inspired by 2 or 3 arcs. So the first thing I want to say is that Oda goes ahead and honors each and every Straw Hat from that were a part of the team pre time skip. He does the East Blue people with 2 ways. He gives them a theme, and then he gives them more background information on their past. And then with the post Grand Line Straw Hats, he honors them by how the new world Straw Hats are joining. And so I'm going to elaborate that. So on the main arcs, the theme comes from the East Blue Saga flashbacks, specifically Romance Dawn through Arlong Park, which will represent one of the 4 arcs in the post-time skip arcs. So Romance Dawn, Volume 1, Chapter 1, or as I like to call it, the prologue, is Luffy, and his theme is pirates and legacy. You know, the straw hat, sacrificing my arm for the legacy of the future, things of that nature. And the main Romance Dawn or Shelltown arc, or Captain Morgan arc, however you want to classify it, is Zoro's theme. And his theme is swordsman and perseverance. So, and then we have Orangetown arc, which is Buggy. Yes, I know he is not a Straw Hat, but he still has his own flashback. He still has everything. So, but his theme is corrupted entertainment and special weapons. Then you have Syrup Village, which is Usopp. His theme is deception and lies. Kind of duh on that one. Then you have the Barate arc, which is Sanji. His theme is starvation and then their food and feeding the enemy. Arlong Park is Nami's, of course, and it deals with racism and slavery. That's the first way that Oda is honoring the Straw Hats from the East Blue. The second way that he honors them is through the flashbacks and flashbacks. So in Fishman Tiger's flashback, it shows Arlong and his motivations for why he is racist and why he is the way he is, and eventually leading to Jinbei becoming a warlord, which is how he was released from prison and able to go into Nami's town and take control. So basically, more of a backstory on Nami's flashback. Then in Sanji's flashback, it reveals his family and how he eventually got to be on the ship with Zeph. Yamato's flashback reveals Zoro's family and why he was alone growing up. And then my predictions for Usopp's flashback and Luffy's flashback, more information on their stuff, is Usopp's information will come most likely from his father, and we'll probably have to deal with why Yasopp left Surf Village, leaving him with his mom. And then Luffy's information will probably most likely come from Dragon, explaining why Dragon left and couldn't raise Luffy. Now, in honoring of the Straw Hats from the Grand Line, Oda does it two ways. Every arc that they joined or introduced, that arc that inspired the post time skip is going to be where a new Straw Hat is added, or people are added. And then how they joined is also inspires how the new additions to the crew join as well. So examples of this is Robin joined right after Alabasta. And the way she joined is saying to the crew, I'm now a part of your crew. And they're all saying, no, we're not taking this. And then she slowly wins them over to eventually going, okay, until they eventually go, okay, you're now part of the crew, with Zoro being last for quite some time. But this mirrors the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. As we can easily tell, Dressrosa has a lot of ties with Alabasta, and the Straw Hat Grand Fleet told Luffy that, hey, we are now part of your crew. We are going to fly under your flag. And Luffy said, nope, I don't want that. And then they didn't take note for an answer and eventually won Luffy over. Brook joined right after Thriller Bark. And the way he joined was being asked by Luffy, but he had to stall that because he had to go and retrieve his shadow first. So he had unfinished business that he had to resolve before he could join. This mirrors Jinbe, because of the fact that the arc mirrors Jinbe by the Whole Cake Island getting inspiration from Thriller Bark, with Gecko Moria's Devil Fruit Bean, similar to Big Mom's as an example, and I'll go further into it later on. And then you have Jinbe saying, I can't join yet because I got more unfinished business to do, and joins being asked in Fishbin Island, and then later joins in Whole Cake Island. Frankie joins right after Enies Lobby, and the way he joins is by being an enemy that helped liberate Robin. And so Yamato is the most likely candidate for this because she is of the enemy pirate crew of the Beast Pirates, and then she's helping the Straw Hats to liberate Wano. Chopper joins right after Drum Island, and the way he joins is that they want him to join, but he doesn't want to be a pirate. And then it's not until his mentor pretty much shoves him to it that he accepts being a Straw Hat. Oda Also, how Oda structures his arc is he'll invert it a lot of times um, through action, time length, importance, the structure of the arc itself. Sometimes he'll even copy something exactly, but then like divide it. So one character and their attributes and stuff will be divided between two characters, or he'll even combine multiple things like the arc structure of the post time skip being merging of arcs from the pre time skip. So, example of action is Frankie not wanting to join the crew, but then is forced by Robin by squeezing his manhood. And then the inverted is Yamato wanting to join the crew the moment she meets Luffy, but he doesn't want her. So it's kind of inverted there. Time and length example is how Fishman Island's kind of inspired by Logtown and Reverse Mountain. Both really really short arcs, but the inverse being that Fishman Island is an extremely long arc. So there's that example. He'll also invert the importance of a certain event. So, like, for instance, the wedding scene in Thriller Bark is a minor thing that's one of the generals, Absalom, and Sanji defeats him, and then goes on to carries on a little bit later, and so on and so forth. But in Whole Cake Island, which is Thriller Bark inspires, or Whole Cake Island has inspirations from Thriller Bark. The wedding scene is actually a big deal and a major plot point of Whole Cake Island. As far as the arc structure example, the structure of Jaya. Jaya is an island that's been split apart, and Jaya Arc is the main island that is still on the Blue Sea. However, Upper Yard, which is a portion of the island that is in the sky, is still a part of Jaya's history. Upper Yard's major plot points are merged with Skypiea, but the structure is inverted by the major plot points from Jaya Arc being merged with Dressrosa, and by Upper Yard from Skypiea having its major plot points influence its own arc, which is Zoe. A division example is Vivi is from an evil organization, and she is used to help bring down the organization, which is represented by Caesar Clown. Vivi is also a princess whose throne is threatened, and employs the Straw Hats to help her protect her throne, which is represented by Momo Kazuki. And like I said earlier, combination is every major arc after the time skip. So Return to Sabo Odi arc is influenced by Sabo Odi Archipelago arc. Both arcs are inversions of the Straw Hats seeing each other for the last time in Sabo Odi Archipelago arc, and for the first time in Return to Sabo Odi. Both arcs have Kuma being protective without informing the Straw Hats. The first time is when Kuma separates the crew so they could escape the Marines without letting the Straw Hats know what he was doing. And the second time is when Kuma protects the Sunny without notifying the Straw Hats. Both arcs have Silver Rayleigh helping the crew by protecting the crew from Kizaru, and the second time is by helping the crew by coding their ship. Both arcs have the Marines chasing the Straw Hats, the first time having the Straw Hats be no match for the Marines, and the second time the Marines are no match for the Straw Hats and their allies. Both arcs start by having the Straw Hats explore and having fun, and then it gets serious with Luffy punching the Celestial Dragon in the first arc, and then the later arc, them all running to get to the ship so they can continue their journey. Fishman Island arc, the structure of that is based off Logtown and Reverse Mountain. Logtown basically signals the start of the journey to Grand Line, and then as they travel up the Reverse Mountain and then goes down. It's inverted by the Fishman Island arc. So Fishman Island Fishman Island signals the start of the New World, and the Reverse Mountain, instead of it, or the transportation, instead of it going up, it's going down and then up. So both arcs, Luffy almost dies from a weaker opponent, Buggy and the beheading at the execution, and Horty Jones from blood loss. They both have, and sorry, I should rephrase this. Logtown arc inspirations. Luffy almost dies. Luffy is saved from someone who cares about Luffy, Dragon, and then Jinbe. The island is in danger from an external force, the storm, and then Noah falling on top of the island for Fishman Island. And then Luffy is compared to Roger. Smoker, when he sees Luffy smiling at his own execution, is reminded of Roger. And then when the Sea Kings notice that Luffy can hear them, they reference Roger being able to do the same thing. Now, the Reverse Mountain arc inspirations or influences are both Straw Hats, Jolly Roger, being placed there, one with Laboon on its forehead, and then one being the protection of the island itself, Fishman Island. Again, they both are journeys to the new part of the world, Grand Line, New World. This is the only anime reference, but I figured I'd throw it in. Both have stowaways. Eric in the anime only, who's a bounty hunter or whatever, and then gets pushed off of the boat. And then Caribou. You can throw that out if you want, but I decided to add that because why not? Both run into sea creatures who Luffy first attacks and then befriends. You have Laboon and then the Kraken. Luffy had to jump off the ship to cushion and do his balloon thing to cushion the ship from impacting the wall, and then he also had to protect the ship from falling rocks in Fishman Island. Both have unnatural illuminations. Inside Laboon, there's luminescent paint, and then in Fishman Island, you have the Eve Tree. And then both sea creatures was a part of the gang's plan, and for Laboon it would be food, and the Kraken as a guardian / crew member. The theme of Fishman Island, quite obvious, Arlong Park. Main theme being fishmen centered around racism and slavery. And then more information about Nami and her backstory. Punk Hazard arc. It's the only setup where the first arc is 2. Both Whiskey Peak and Little Garden, but you can classify it as Baroque Works arc, and it lumps it both together. Both places have a beacon to attract people, or in this case, Straw Hats. The bar in Whiskey Peak is supposed to attract the pirates to stay there and then get drunk and then pass out and collect their bounties. The SOS attracted the Straw Hats to that island because of the samurais. Both places supply a resource to the agency that they were a part of. Baroque works with money from bounties, and then Doflamingo family from the sad chemical to make devil fruits, artificial devil fruits. Both places get a temporary crew member, Vivi and Whiskey Peak, and then Caesar Clown and Momo. And then Whiskey Peak also has Straw Hats infighting with Luffy versus Zoro, and then Sanji versus Nami. The Little Garden influences are both have dragons, ancient dragons in Little Garden, which we know now in Wano is Oda refers as dragons through devil fruits and stuff, and then you have the artificial ones in Punk Hazard itself. They both have giants, Dory and Broggy, who are allies, and then the Yeti Cool brothers, who are enemies. Both main enemies almost suffocate people. Mr. 3 with his wax fruit, and then this Caesar Clown with his little pet salamander thing. Dressrosa, of course, I already said, it's influenced by Alabasta. Both have a warlord that controls a kingdom, Crocodile behind the scenes, Doflamingo directly. Both have gangster crews. Crocodile has Baroque Works, Doflamingo has Doflamingo Family. Both introduce a brother of Luffy, Ace and Alabasta, Sabo and Dressrosa. Both have a princess who had teamed up with the gang, Vivi and Viola. Both have Luffy fight the main enemy multiple times. And then Jaya's main arc, like I said, Jaya's kind of structurally split. But its main arc is both Jaya and Dressrosa have Bellamy, who gets knocked out with a one-hit punch. Both arcs reveal information about Nolan. First one being a flashback with Shandoyans, and the dwarves saying he saved them a long time ago. Both arcs have a Blackbeard pirate member go after Luffy, Blackbeard himself before the knock-up stream, and then Jesus Burgess in the Coliseum. And both have descendants of Nolan, one being Cricket, and Usopp saying he's a descendant of Nolan. And then the Orangetown arc is the theme of Dressrosa. Orangetown theme is corrupted entertainment and special weapons. Orangetown's corrupted entertainment is Circus, that is a pirate crew. Dressrosa is toys are actually trapped people, and the Coliseum is a trap to collect people. The special weapons is buggy balls, and then in Dressrosa it's artificial devil fruits, and then the gun supply black market for the wars and stuff. And then more specifically about the flashback, Buggy's flashback shows the life of a former Roger Pirate crew member, and it's inverted by Doflamingo and his life being a former celestial dragon, so it's kind of inverted there. I already mentioned Robin joining Inspiration, so the Straw Hat Grand Fleet joined. Now we go on to Zoe arc. So Zoe arc is inspired by Jaya Upper Yard and Skypiea. Both arcs have natives fighting to protect their homeland, Shandorians versus the Skypieans, or more specifically NL. And then Minx versus Jack and his crew. Both arcs have natives protecting a poneglyph, and both poneglyphs having important information on it, with Shandorians one pointing to where Poseidon is located, and then the Minx having a road poneglyph that shows is one of the 4 points to Raftel. Both arcs start a rescue party. One is in Skypiea, where half their crew gets kidnapped, and then they start a rescue party with Sanji, Luffy, and Usopp. And then, of course, we know the Sanji rescue party or retrieval party started in Zou to go get Sanji from Whole Cake Island. And then both arcs are structured in a similar way. There are islands placed somewhere in the sky, held up by something. The World Tree for Upper Yard and Zunisha for Zou. Whole Cake Island is inspired by Skypiea and Thriller Bark. Skypiea and Whole Cake Island, they're both twisted version of paradise. Skypiea being a twisted version of heaven, and Whole Cake Island being a twisted version of a utopia. Both arcs have a fake friend who betrays them and then turns into a real friend later on. You got I think it's called Conus in Skypiea, and then Pudding from Whole Cake Island. Both arcs have them go through a trial or ordeal in a forest, with the ordeal balls in Skypiea and seducing woods in Whole Cake Island. Both arcs have powerful antagonists who attacks are completely immune by one of the Straw Hats, with Enel being immune by Luffy, and then Big Mom being immune by Jinbei. Both arcs have enemies who Luffy fights that have advanced version of observation hockey. You have Enel, whose Devil Fruit enhances his observation hockey to allow him to hear further distance than anyone else. And then you have Katakuri, of course, with being able to see into the future. And then both arcs see Nami's weapons get an upgrade with the dial system in Skypiea, and then Zeus and Whole Cake Island. The Thriller Bark influences are both arcs have a wedding, with Nami's wedding in Thriller Bark and Sanji being in Whole Cake Island. Both antagonists have the similar devil fruits that create subordinates, homies, zombies. Both major antagonists want giants. Gecko Moria wanted oars. Big Mom, of course, wanted actual giants. Both arcs have one of the two Lola twin people. Both arcs have a weak Straw Hat member being able to fight with an enemy who can defeat the rest of the crew. You have Usopp with Perona, and then you have Brook with Big Mom. The theme of Whole Cake Island is Baratie, which is starvation. Luffy is starving just like Zeph and Sanji. And then the enemy is starving with Jin and his crew Big Mom is also starving, and then both times Sanji had to feed them. And then Brook joining Inspiration, I've already talked about that. Reverie arc, which is inspired by Post Enies Lobby. Both arcs are data dumps, basically. Post Enies Lobby reveals information about Garp and Post. I'm just going to refer to it as Post. Enies Lobby is just Post, and Reverie as Rev. So in Post, Garp is Luffy's revealed to be Luffy's grandfather, and Rev is revealed that how he became hero of the Marines through God Valley. Then the next thing is revolutionary information. And post, you have Dragon being Luffy's father, and then in Rev, it has how the Revolutionary Army is structured. Then you have the fight of Blackbeard. You have Blackbeard fighting the Ace, and then you have Blackbeard fighting the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army. Then you have the warlords being inverted. You have the warlords assembling at Marijois, and then the inverted being them being disassembled. And then you have Shanks meetings, Shanks meeting Whitebeard and Post, and then meeting with the Gorosei and Rev. Both have Colby being introduced to Luffy's allies, and Post it's Nami and any crew member after that, and then in Rev it's Rebecca, Vivi, and so on. Both Post and Rev has all crew members' bounty increasing, and then the reaction of several people throughout the world. And that's how Reveille and Post Enies Lobby are connected. Then Wano arc is inspired by Water 7 and Enies Lobby. Now, I know people think, oh, Marineford, because Oda said it'll be bigger than Marineford, but doesn't mean it's inspired by it. Just saying. So Water 7, both arcs have spies who try to kill a group or people that the Straw Hats need. With Water 7, it's CP9 trying to kill Iceberg, who they need because Galley Law Company to build a ship. And then in Wano, it's Conjuro, I believe his name is, trying to kill the Scabbards, who the Straw Hats need as an alliance. And then both arcs have islands that has rivers throughout its structure. Water 7, of course, it's built like a giant fountain. And then when you look at the overview of Wano, it has a whole bunch of rivers throughout it. Both arcs have Straw Hats completely defeated by the enemy. Frankie completely crushing Usopp, and then Kaido completely crushing Luffy. And both arcs have festivals. I forget the name of it in Water 7, but they're all wearing masks like the Venice people. And then in Wano, it's festival, the Fire Festival. Enies Lobby inspiration arc. Both arcs have the main bad guys being zone users. Both arcs have Straw Hats invade a region. Enies Lobby, Onigashima. Both arcs have them entering the new island with a massive storm happening. Both arcs have the Straw Hats needing to defeat the enemy with a time limit. Robin leaving, Onigashima being dropped on the Flower Capital, or the fire in Onigashima. Both arcs have a strong members of the enemy turned traitor. The examples for that is the two giants that know Dory and Broggy, being told, hey, they're on this island, they're not captured or whatever, so they turn on the world government and start helping the Straw Hats. And then, of course, in Wano, the artificial zones being turned Both arcs have someone encouraging another to fight. Usopp taking off his mask to get Luffy to fight, and then Wano with Luffy encouraging Momo to fight and face his fears. Both arcs have major paperwork with Pluton, the Pluton blueprints, and then with Yamato with the Odin's diary. Both arcs have leaders who are ordered around by someone far weaker than them. Spandam for the CP9 people, and then the Shogun with Kaido. The theme is the main Romance Dawn, which is Zoro's theme, which was Samurais and Perseverance, which, I mean, Samurais is based off Japan, Japan's based off Samurais, and Perseverance is obvious, them constantly going back to fight. The inspiration or perseverance of Momo to say that he's the Shogun of Wano, even up against the fear of death. Basically, just keep fighting, coming back, getting beaten down, and then coming back to keep fighting. Frankie joining Inspiration, I already talked about that. So after Wano, what is left? So Inspiration arcs, we have Syrup Village and Romance Dawn. Grand Line Inspiration Crew Edition is Chopper with Drum Island, so whatever Drum Islands inspires is probably going to be a new addition there. Army, ship, something adds to the crew in a whole. And it's going to be added like how Chopper was added. Inspirational arcs left. We have Long Land arc. Try saying that 5 times fast. And then you have the Drum Island arc, Amazon Lily, Impel Down, Marineford, and then Post-War. So my prediction, and now this is just all speculation, but my prediction is it's going to be Long Land arc, which is the Davy Backfight arc. I think after Wano, Luffy will feel like he can face Shanks now, so he's going to go to Shanks. It'll probably be on the outskirts of Elbaf or in Elbaf itself. Either or. Doesn't matter as long as it's close to Elbaf, in my opinion. Now, I think Buggy and Mihawk at this time, because of the Warlord being disbanded, have joined Shanks and his crew. And they basically do a Davy backfight, just like they did against Foxy, except they decide, whoever wins gets to pick a crew member from the opposing team, something along those lines. Now, here's the interesting thing. We have Kuzan, or Aokiji, however you want to name him. He, in Long Land, he attacks the Straw Hats. Now, in present day, he is allied with the Blackbeard Pirates. I don't think he would be able to go anywhere without other Blackbeard Pirates. And then furthermore, I think with Shanks and Luffy fighting, it'd be a perfect opportunity for Blackbeard to arrive while they're weakened, so to speak. So I think because of that, he's going to arrive, and again, it's in the Davy backfight arc at the end. Kuzan was there. In that Davy backfight, he freezes Luffy and Robin. I think he's going to do the same, but this time it's for different reasons. One, to protect them both, because Blackbeard will be after to kill Luffy, and then to capture Robin If he freezes them, then Blackbeard's gonna think they're both dead because, well, they're frozen solid. But anyhow, after all this is said and done, they wake up or are found in jail or something in Drum Island, and or not Drum Island, sorry, Elbaf, and in Elbaf, I think it's going to be inspired by Drum Island and Amazon Lily, since they're both dealing with a bad king ruler. Drum Island being a horrible person with WAPO, like monopolizing all the medical people, and then Amazon Lily, the Empress, being completely selfish and self-absorbed. And then the theme, I think, will be Usopp's Syrup Village theme, Deception and Lies. The reason why I think all these are together and tied together is because of Loki. Loki in normal mythology is the god of mischief and lies. And so that completes the theme. And then both these arcs deal with a bad ruler, so that would mesh with the naming of Loki. So the things I think inspired for Drum Island, I think it'll be inverted. Instead of it's a bad ruler getting replaced by a good one, I think it's a good ruler with Loki trying to replace that good ruler with himself. And then Amazon Lily, one of the major key things is Luffy doesn't know that Ace is captured, and he's just trying to get off the island to get with his friends, and so on and so forth. So he's trying to get off, but he doesn't know the time critical information that makes him desperate to get off. I think they'll want to get off because of Shanks to try and get back with him, but they'll learn something like Vivi being captured by the world government and go, oh my gosh, we gotta go now. So there's that. Then the remaining three arcs, inspiration, and the last theme arc would be the prologue Romance Dawn theme, which is Pirates and Legacy. This is where the pirate world comes together against Blackbeard and the world government. And I think Impel Down will be the final battle. The reason why I think Impel Down and Marineford are the final battle is because it had Marineford is basically pirates against the Marines, but in this case it'll be the pirates against the world government. And Impel Down, it's the only arc that both Luffy and Blackbeard were in that they both almost died in. And I think that inspiration will be for the end game where they'll fight each other and almost kill each other, type of thing. So that's why I think those two are together. And I think since we know in Wano that Caribou wants to travel with the Straw Hats, I think after Elbaf or the Davy Back fight arc, he goes with Blackbeard, and Blackbeard's in Fishman Island, and getting Shirahoshi, can't say that right, the Poseidon. And so as the Straw Hats are traveling from Elbaf to Marajua and Fishman Island, they're collecting allies and former enemies like Crocodile and so on. They're collecting these groups as on their way back. And then when they get there, Impel Down's inspiration will probably be for a Fishman Island again, because they're exactly the same, going down and up. Or it could which is one possibility. I think it'd be more entertaining, personally, if Impel Down inspires the Marijoa with, because of the fact that as Luffy was escaping Impel Down, he was releasing prisoners, but in Marijoa, it'll be releasing slaves. And then Impel Down being the inspiration for Fishman Island. Marineford being the Fishman inspiration for Fishman Island, being a giant battle underwater would be awesome. And then the last arc. The last two arcs, I forgot to mention, will be inverted instead of the normal structure of first arc inspired by 1, and then the next one being inspired by 3. It will be inverted, so and then the very last arc will be the Laugh Tale arc, and it's inspired by the post-war arc. And the reason why I say this is if you look closely at post-war arc, it's an arc where it's an epilogue, so it's at the end of the pre-time skip, but it deals with the prologue, a story before everything happens, but it's between the prologue of the actual story and the main story itself. So it's kind of sandwiched in between right there. And I think that hints towards it being the inspiration for the Void Century. So I think the very last arc will be finding Raftel. Instead of Luffy crying at post-war arc, he's laughing, and then it'll be a flashback of Joy Boy and the revealing of what happened in the Void Century. So if you like what I'm thinking, leave a comment. Otherwise, have fun. Bye.